Hello Multiverse, welcome to Omniverse Gamers. My name's Damien Bizzaio. This video is going to dissect another dynamic encounter. Call this Huge Octopus Cavern. I ran this on Roll20 recently because I'm pretty new to Roll20, but everyone's playing on it now because of the current situation. So I'm just trying to give you some encounters that I don't do on the table. That's just how I do a Roll20 encounter. This is probably my fifth encounter I've run in Roll20, so I'm still getting used to the works. This gets from a game I called Pirates of the Ashen Sea. The group's kind of like mercenaries on a ship. And it's kind of it's basically a West March at sea. They go on different missions from the ship. The ship's kind of safe, and they just kind of go on these different islands that they choose, and there's missions. So their first mission, they went to find these orcs that were kind of doing something on the island. They had discovered something, and the captain wanted to know what the orcs had discovered, and if it was valuable to take it from them, and get rid of all the evidence. So the orc pirates don't know that we were there, basically to interrupt them. So they did that the first time. In the first session they had fought these orcs, and then they went up to the map. They found this there was a waterfall so as you can see, it's this big map. This map was drawn by Gamaweb. I'll put a link to their Patreon down below. It's T-Hawks. Thanks for letting me use that on the stream. They were very generous. Let me stream this, and so go check them out. They have a lot of cool maps. So this was the first session. When they came across these orcs, the orcs were kind of strategically along the beach, and some of them were approaching this waterfall. They were like getting ready to attack something. And then the party, of course, ambushed them and started fighting them. Some of the orcs turned around. Some of the orcs were kind of worried about what's on the waterfall. So in the course of this fight, something tentacled came out and grabbed the leader of the orcs and ripped them into the waterfall. Some big giant tentacle just grabbed him and ripped him. He screamed. You heard this crunching and, screaming. So that was the first session. They ended up fighting these orcs, defeating these orcs. Then when they came back the next session, their goal was they were going to go into this waterfall because the captain, the sea monster supposedly was eating things. It's like an eternal creature, so it might have eaten things 100 years ago, and they want the clues towards the ancient. If this thing has eaten anything older, they want the artifacts. They want to know what this thing's been doing. So they're going to go in. They agree to go in and slaughter this monster. This is a monster kill mission because they want to see what the monster has in its lair for clues and for artifacts and stuff like that. So we have a fighter who's pretty reckless, a barbarian, bear totem who's obviously also reckless. And then we have, they're practical, they're smart players, but the way they role play, they just rush in, they have fun. And then we have an archer, a ranger archer, and then we have an artificer with the cannons and stuff. So we have a pretty good mix of range and melee. So what I did, even though I used this map the first time, because it's Roll20, you use whatever maps you got. So then I switched, when we actually went to the next one, I switched into this other map right here, which this map was made by Madbunnyart, and thanks to them for letting me film this too. They also have a Reddit page with a bunch of cool maps, and I'll leave a link to that in the down below. I'll go check that out. They have all kinds of nice cool maps to have fun with. So in this map, there's a waterfall. So the fighter and the barbarian, the fighter rushes into the waterfall. He's like, I'm just going. She disappears in the waterfall. You hear like an ouch, and you hear like a scrambling, and you hear like this, like what the? And as she goes in there, she's attacked by this little crab. So what she sees in there is this little hallway. They have little lights on their chest that they built. The artificer built these little glowing things, so they have light. So when she goes into this cavern, she sees like maybe 20, 30 giant crabs all kind of eating, and they're eating on the orc, the leftover bones of the orcs that were left over there from the previous fight, or maybe previous fights from before that. They don't know how long the orcs have been trying to fight this monster, how many days, but there's a lot of orc bones in this cave, and the crabs are kind of, and when they see the fighter come in, most of them freak, and they disperse, and they jump into the water, but like 4 or 5 of them are brave, and they just kind of, and they see new food source, so they go to attack her. So she's fighting them, the barbarian comes in, helps her fight, then eventually the whole party comes in, they start fighting these crabs, which actually bite them, and they eat them right in front of them. It's hilarious. And then as this is going, obviously they know there's a tentacled monster in here somewhere. They don't know where or what it is, but at some point, here you go. There's some tentacles come in and just start fighting, and they're really long, so they're attacking them. So what this is, it's a I call it MegOctopuss. I've used this octopus in 2nd level, 9th level. I've used this octopus in a lot of different games. It's really cool. I gave it some abilities. It's obviously tentacle attacks. It's got a 25-foot reach, so it can reach 25 feet with these tentacles, which gives me a lot of reach. It lets me attack a lot of people in a lot of range. So I have 8 tentacles, so I can feasibly attack 8 times if I choose to. Obviously, against this 3rd level party, I limited it to 4. Against the higher level party, I did all 8. But I gave it so it needs 2 tentacles free to swim. So I technically can only attack 6 times if I want to move. If I want to stay where I am, I can attack with all of them. Every time it attacks, it can do it. It basically tries to wrap around somebody, and they have to do a grapple, like athletics or acrobatics, to get away. And I kept doing it to the fighter and the barbarians. They were the ones in range, but they were way too strong. They just kept breaking away from the tentacles. If I would have grabbed them, I could have thrown them, smashed them against the wall, thrown them against other people. Or I could just pull them into the water, and now they're trying to rescue their friend instead of fighting this monster. There's a whole bunch of things I could have done, but I wasn't able to grab them, and that's just how combat goes sometimes. Then I have another sweeping attack I use with it. Sometimes I take the tentacle and I sweep it, and everybody in the sweep has to make a dex save or a strength save or take 1d6 and be knocked prone. Now, if you make a dex save, you can dodge it. If you make a strength save against it, you basically stop it. So as that's coming through, if the fighter says I'm going to make a strength save, he stops that sweep, then he succeeds. So the sweep, everybody on this side, that tentacle is going to stop right here, and all these people are safe. So it's a really cool way to make the fighters make the sweep attack fun, but also make it matter when the player's effective. If they want to dodge out of the way, that's great, but then it's going to keep hitting the next guy. If they want to try to stop it, it's going to block it from the guy belonged. So that's just another ability I gave this octopus, which I didn't actually get to use in this combat, because it's a very tight cave combat, whereas usually I do this on a ship or on the ocean. It's good to have sweeps. But in this combat, I was just doing different kind of attacks. And then I also gave it an ink cloud, so if it was getting in trouble, I could spew this ink cloud and just get away. That's what the octopus can do. So they're fighting this octopus pretty frantically, and what they realize is it has vulnerability to fire, which they kind of already figured out from before, because the orcs were fighting it with fire. They just kind of pieced that together. So fire did double damage, and they realized that. They started whatever they had for fire. They were hitting this thing. This thing has a lot of hit points. This thing is, I call it MegOctopuss for a reason. It's mega. No matter what level of party you're playing, this thing's a challenge. I can do the, you watch my bounded accuracy video. You can see how I can up and down the numbers with the same monster. And that's the monster. That's literally how I track this monster. There's just tentacles right there. So if they deal 20 damage to the tentacle, now for higher levels it's 30, but for this I did 20. Anytime they did 20 damage to a single tentacle, because I treated each tentacle as a different creature for purposes of certain things. For Hunter's Mark, I let him kind of pick whatever. But it depended on what ability they were using. But I kind of make it not against them. It was just kind of to make the combat enhanced. I didn't want to punish them by saying, oh, that's an extra creature, that's not this and that. But basically, every time they dealt 20 damage to the same tentacle, that tentacle would become useless. It would get severed, slashing. If it pierced, the guy kept putting arrows in it, and it would just kind of like limp, and it just kind of like got to the point where it was just kind of dangling there. It was out of combat. So as the combat went, I had less and less attacks to use because I had less tentacles. So it was just a fun way for them to kind of weaken this massive creature. They could take it down piece by piece by piece rather than just getting slaughtered by it over and over again. As combat continues, they cut the two tentacles off. Eventually, the monster escapes. It doesn't want any part of them anymore. They cut them out. So they're going to go in. They go and they explore the next cavern a little bit. You'll see I have this, I use a depth chart, which I used to use a lot when I used to do online gaming back in the 3rd edition days. This is like a side view. So it's just an Excel sheet. I made a little square. So as they're over here on the left, this is their top down. They're going out 10 feet. But then if he wants to go down 20 feet into the water, I can use the step chart to put him down 20 feet. So it's a way to visually know where everybody is and have it be 3-dimensional in the water. This works in the sky too. We can do the same kind of chart in the sky if you have a sky combat. Just a really cool way to track 3-dimensional combat. That in 5th edition makes it even easier because you don't have to do any trigonometry. You just distance is distance, and it's. But anyway, so as this battle, as they're exploring this cavern now, so they've already had one encounter. One section of this encounter has already happened. So now they're kind of exploring. They find another tunnel out to this other cave. They realize that there's tunnels down below, underwater. That it leads to other caverns underwater. And as they're discovering that, the octopus comes back and he starts attacking the fighter and the barbarian underwater. They're in underwater fighting it, and then the ranger's shooting with disadvantage, and the artificer's shooting things with fire and different things that he has on the edge. And it's this crazy scrum of a combat. They end up taking him down another tentacle, and then the monster starts getting weaker, and he loses the 3rd tentacle, and he's like, whoa. So he's going to cast his ink cloud, and he kind of gets away. So the fighter and the barbarian get advantage attacks as it goes away. They're blinded, so they have disadvantage. The barbarian's raging, so he has a flat roll, but they do a little bit more damage. The thing escapes away. They now explore the cavern. So the fighter and the barbarian swim really well, and the ranger and the assassin, they're dex builds, so they're not so much good at swimming because the swimming's based off strength. So they just grab a hold of the fighter and the barbarian respectively, and so the barbarian and the fighter swim them down underwater and back over to the other cavern, and they just kind of go along for the ride, and it makes it cool. They go get a breath. Then they kind of follow the trail of the octopus is bleeding, this purple and black stuff, and they kind of follow the trail down into the next chamber. Now when they get to this chamber, now this is the home of the octopus. This is his lair. So he's wounded, he's pissed, he's wounded, and before he was fighting for food. Now this thing is injured at home, fighting for its life. So this thing, as they come into the next cavern unexpectedly, he's right there ready, and there's boom tentacles to start getting them, and I tried to wrap them up. I failed to grapple him, but it was the excitement of it. It still was fun. This was a crazy scrum. They finally defeated this thing, and they found its loot and all that jazz. But You can see how this was a very three-dimensional encounter. It's actually 3 encounters in one, because you got the initial crab one, you got the middle pool fight, and then you got this final desperate battle. So it definitely escalated. It's 3 combat, but it's only one. It's technically one 3-section encounter, and it just escalated, and it came out really great, and it was super fun. So I hope that was interesting and kind of showed you guys how I developed that combat and how that combat worked out in Roll20, and just ways to do different things with range and height and depth, and just other ways to run combat other than just, attack a monster and kill it. So this was, we'll call it Huge Octopus Cavern. We are Omniverse Gamers. Like, subscribe, all that jazz, and hope to see you soon, and keep on gaming.